Alvarez. This is a champion in his prime.
Witness Canelo.
As we gather this evening, let's begin with prayer. O God, in tempest and in turmoil, you spread your sheltering wing, and in times of peace and restfulness, you nestle us close. We pray for your children without shelter or safety. Awaken us, O God. Don't allow us to accept as normal a woman sleeping in a doorway or a child whose only bedroom is the back seat of a car. Open our eyes so as not to overlook our neighbors. Open our minds to new possibilities. Open our hearts to work for a world in which every person has a home. We thank you for First Light, for those who saw the need and responded, creating this shelter from the storms of life that First Light has been for so many. Tonight, we celebrate the doors that have been opened, the lives that have been changed, and the women and children who are experiencing, even now, the transforming power of safe and nurturing community. And as we celebrate what First Light has done, we also commit ourselves to ensuring that its mission continues and grows, so that everyone can know the joy of being safe and secure in a place of their own. In gratitude and deep commitment, we offer our prayers to you. For you alone are our heart's true home. Amen.
Good evening. I'm Craig Casiday, Hoover's Magazine's reigning best local personality. You might recognize me from my appearances in the ABC 3340 Talk of Alabama kitchen. Tonight, I am truly honored and delighted to welcome you to the First Lights 2021 Virtual Gala. We hope you will have as much fun with us tonight and be just as generous as you might have had if we had gotten together safely in person. Please pull up your most comfortable chair, pour your favorite beverage, grab a snack or two, and pretend you're wearing your most elegant outfit. You look absolutely marvelous in that. We hope you feel touched by the inspiring stories you will hear tonight, and you might even win some terrific items from the auction. Just click the tab, it's going to be on your screen right up here that says Items, and check out the fantastic items that have been donated by our caring community. There are some beautiful things there, and they're easy and fun to bid on. You can search by category or just look at each of the wonderful available items as you watch tonight's virtual gala. Just click on the item that interests you, and you will see the current bid amount listed. You can bid that amount or higher, provide your cell phone number, and you'll get a warning if you've been outbid. Now, if you want to, you can even allow the system to automatically bid up to a designated amount for you. If you do that, the system will bid incrementally up to the amount designated if someone places a bid against yours. The items you win in tonight's auction will be available to pick up tomorrow at First Lights Emergency Shelter. Please remember, every dollar we raise through this virtual gala will directly benefit homeless women and families. And that support is more urgent now than ever before. Now, I'd like to also bring your attention to the monitor next to me, where you're going to be able to see your names scrolled through the screen as you make cash donations. That's the link at the bottom of the screen. So please hit that link, make very generous donations, and get your name listed here on the board. You'll also see a little further to the left, this is our running total for the tonight. And of course, we want that number to be huge. We need to make a difference tonight. Have you had a chance to look at those items that are up for auction yet? Did you notice the beautiful First Light totes like this one? Someone right now is going to win this tote. Everyone who registered by April 15th was entered into a drawing, and I got the best hat here full of names. So we're going to draw to see who wins that tote. And the winner of our First Light tote is Pam Kohler. Thank you for joining us tonight, Pam. Your tote will be available tomorrow at the First Light Shelter. And now, as they say, here is a word from our sponsors.
Hello, my name is Stephen Miller, Chief Financial and Administrative Officer for PACE. PACE is a customized logistics provider headquartered right here in the Birmingham metro area. PACE provides courier services, middle mile and final mile deliveries, operating in vehicle types such as sedans, vans, box trucks, and tractor trailers. We operate in over 12 states, offering cross-docking and warehouse solutions. Our footprint spans across the Southeast, Midwest, and Texas. PACE is a privately owned company led by CEO and President Matt Lawrence and COO Casey Crook. PACE has built a culture around its core values: serve relentlessly, do the right thing, do what you say, get the job done, and always improve. Our mission is to serve and improve lives through logistics. We are service first, safety first, and culture first. This extends to our teammates, our partners, and our communities where we work, which is why all of us at PACE are excited and humbled to be a longstanding partner in First Light's mission. This marks the 5th year PACE is the presenting sponsor of First Light's Gala. We are proud and honored to be part of such an amazing organization, team, and event to raise money for women and children and awareness on a growing homelessness crisis in our communities. A crisis that rose for the 4th straight year with over 580,000 people living on the streets or in temporary shelter at the start of 2020. These numbers are almost certainly underestimate the displacement of people who lost work as a result of the downturn caused by COVID-19 pandemic. In 2017, PACE started the PACE Foundation, an extension of PACE's values, and a promise to care deeply about the communities where we do business. The PACE Foundation focused on 3 pillars: rehabilitation, revitalization, and education. First Light hits all 3, which is another reason they are the perfect organization to partner with. In this partnership, PACE team members can experience the true meaning of philanthropy, which is defined as the love of humanity in the sense of caring, nourishing, developing, and enhancing what it means to be human. PACE partnership with First Light is about more than financial support. PACE team members also serve as volunteers at the shelter, another huge need and a way we can all give back. We urge you to join us in this important mission, which is more urgent than ever before. The COVID-19 pandemic is putting many vulnerable women and families at risk of homelessness. Please help First Light ensure they will always find safety, opportunity, and hope. Enjoy the virtual gala, and please be generous.
PACE has been a long-standing, generous friend to First Light and to the homeless women and children who depend on First Light. And we are grateful to all the sponsors who are generously supporting First Light's important work. If you click the Home button, which is up to my right this way on your screen, you'll see the incredible businesses, churches, and people who are sponsoring this virtual gala. We want to send a special shout out to our Circle of Opportunity sponsors: Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama, Cables Inc., Medical Properties Trust, and Protective. PACE and a lot of the sponsors of our virtual gala this evening, and a lot of you, donate more than financial support. They also donate their time as volunteers. You may know that First Light started in the basement of the Presbyterian Church about 30 years ago. It was then, and continues to be, a community project. Social distancing during the pandemic has limited how many people can come into the shelter, but normally more than 1,000 volunteers each year let First Light guests know that ours is a very caring community. Even during the pandemic, the community has continued to provide meals for First Light's guests. These meals also help the community, such as small local restaurants like my own, by generating an opportunity to help the needy. We're gathered here tonight to support First Light's mission, which is more urgent now than ever before. The economic fallout from the pandemic is putting entirely too many vulnerable women and families at risk for homelessness. Even before the health crisis, the poverty rate of women in Alabama was 43% higher than the national average. And 26% of Alabama's children were living in households so burdened by housing costs that their families were unlikely to adequately meet basic needs. A job loss for those families is devastating, and the unemployment rate in Alabama is still almost 65% higher than last year. It's because of generosity of people like you that First Light's doors stay open to scared women and children who have no place to go. That generosity, like the people here, Deborah, thank you so much for your generous contribution. We have our number running here and it's going up. That's exactly what we want to see. There's a little party going on to my right. We're very happy about this. So please click the donate button down below right now to join the generous sponsors who are making this wonderful event possible and to make sure the vulnerable, homeless women and children will continue to find refuge at First Light. And if you haven't yet bid on one of the outstanding auction items, do that now. It's easy and fun. The need is more urgent now than ever. First Light is a member of a continuum of care that coordinates housing and services funding for homeless families and individuals. This helps the First Light and other agencies in our community that serve the homeless work together and avoid wasting limited resources. This has been especially important as the economic pressure of the pandemic has put so many vulnerable families at risk. One Roof is the coordinating agency for the homeless continuum care of Central Alabama. As the executive director of One Roof, Michelle Farley has a unique overview of the pressures the COVID pandemic has put on the housing stability of the poor.
One Roof is the coordinating body for most of the homelessness service providers in Jefferson, Shelby, and St. Clair counties. We also are the ones that run the database that connects most of those service providers. We have that database so that when one of our clients tells a very difficult, heart-wrenching story, they only have to tell it once. It goes into that database. One Roof then uses that data, everything from how long a person has been homeless to their veteran status. We use that then to help the agencies rehouse that client. And then we also use that information to write grants to bring in the majority of the federal dollars that come in from homelessness. And we use it to share, of course, with municipalities and with the general public for planning purposes. The pandemic has been exceedingly difficult for the most vulnerable people, and that's not just financially vulnerable. That is also those with mental illnesses and physical disabilities. But as far as financially difficult, many of the people that we serve have service industry jobs. And so many of our people have lost their jobs, putting them at risk of becoming homeless again. And if that's the kind of job that they've always worked, it's very difficult to find a job in that industry. If they get COVID, or if their child gets COVID, or their mom that they're living with gets COVID, they have to make the decision. Do they stay home and take care of that loved one, or do they go to work? They're on their own. They depend on First Light. They depend on our partner agencies. When I think about the work done by First Light and any of our member agencies, I don't have to rely on what I'm told. Because of this shared database, I can see what's being done. I can see how many First Light supports to help them remain stable, even if they have another crisis. I can see for myself by the numbers the work that First Light does.
These really are unprecedented times, and it is really urgent that we come together to ensure that the doors at First Light will be open to frightened women and children who have no place else to go. Thank you for being with us this evening. Please be sure to click on that tab right up here and see all the wonderful auction items donated by our caring community. This virtual gala was the result of a lot of hard work by a lot of wonderful people. Two of the wonderful people who have done so much to bring us together this very special evening are the co-chairs of this virtual gala, Virginia Miller and Heather Nelms. Virginia, I understand you are also on the governing board of First Light, but this is your first year as a gala co-chair. What inspired you to be such an active part of the First Light community?
Well, Chandler, first of all, thank you so much. I'm just so honored to be here, and I'd like to first say thank you to our committee, our gala committee. Without them, none of this could have been possible. The auction items, all of this wonderful auction and MC and videos and interviews, and so all of this would not have come together without them. But part of the reason I am so involved with First Light, and it's really kind of selfish, is because I know at some point in my life, if there's a financial bad financial decision that I make, or a medical disaster or tragedy, something like that, you know, that could be me. I mean, I always feel like we're all one step away. We're all vulnerable. And I want to make sure that First Light is there for me when I need it.
Virginia, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Thank you so much, Virginia. You're an inspiration to all of us, I think, to the audience, to our guests, to me, myself personally. The work that you've put in is really amazing. Thank you again so very much. Now I'm going to introduce your co-chair, Heather Nelms. Heather, I understand you're a member of First Light's Board of Directors as well as co-chair for 3 years running. What drew you to be of service at First Light?
Thanks, Craig. You know, I became involved with First Light initially as an overnight volunteer. I really, you know, with their mission and the way that they carried that out, I just wanted to be a part of that. You know, my skills and ability, I can't do what the social workers do, but I can be present, and that's what drew me in to volunteer at First Light, is that I could go overnight and just stay with the ladies that were going through, you know, a traumatic event, and just with my physical presence, just to let them know that somebody cared. And as you said, you know, I've been involved with the gala for the past 4 years, and I'm telling you, it's a wonderful group of people that you know, make this happen. The gala, it's a lot of work, but it's for a good cause, and it requires a significant amount of committee participation. But I feel like I've received so much from just getting to know the people in the gala committee, and seeing, you know, they're just them serving with generosity and love, that I've just been given much more than I probably have given.
Thank you for that beautiful answer. It shows truly how compassionate and giving you are. Was it difficult for the gala to be transitioned from a live gala to the virtual gala this year?
Well, we've never done it before. For the past 20 years, of course, this is our largest fundraiser, and you know, we canceled last year. But you know, as you mentioned earlier, you know, First Light, you know, it started out as a makeshift shelter in the basement of First Presbyterian Church, and it was just a group of dedicated volunteers that just refused to just turn a blind eye to the fact that homeless women were sleeping on the steps of their church. So they opened the doors of the basement so they would have a safe place to sleep. And at that location, they tried the best they could to provide for the complex needs of those women. When the Old Granada Hotel in Birmingham became available, through the generous support of the community, the First Light became incorporated, and they were able to make renovations to that building. and provide services for more women and children and provide better services. You know, it broke our heart when we had to cancel last year, because it marked a milestone. It marked 20 years of First Light. So we were determined that we were going to do everything that we could to get all the caring supporters together, you know, this year, and because they've just been so supportive of First Light's mission. And together we can ensure that First Light can continue to help vulnerable women and children. You know, no one should have to sleep in a car on the streets of Birmingham.
Thank you, Heather. You and everyone joining us this evening are making sure that the most vulnerable in our community will find safety and hope. And I think this virtual gala is absolutely bringing people together for your purposes. You can see right here on our little tally board that we've got this great total. We'd love to go higher, guys, so if you could donate now, click that link below for a cash donation. And remember that every dollar raised tonight goes directly to support First Light's cause. There are many reasons why someone might find themselves homeless, and the homeless are usually dealing with a variety of complex issues. The rates of mental illness among the homeless is almost twice that of the general population. In fact, almost half of homeless women meet the criteria for major depressive disorder. About a quarter to 1/3 of the homeless have a serious mental illness. So the diagnosis and treatment of a mental health disorder is often the first essential step towards self-sufficiency. That's why every guest at First Light is evaluated to see if she might benefit from mental health care and sent to appropriate treatment. Some with severe mental health conditions will always need supportive care. 9 women permanently disabled by severe mental illness live on the 4th floor of First Light's shelter. And they get the guidance and support they need from a qualified professional to ensure that they thrive. Until she passed away recently, Jeannie Williams was one of those special ladies.
I first met Jeannie Williams when I came to the church at First Presbyterian. She was already a guest of the shelter in 1992. It is our belief that Jeannie was one of the first guests of the shelter. But what was different about Jeannie is that when everyone else left in the morning, Jeannie would leave also, because that was the rule. But Miss Jeannie never left the property of the church. And so over time, what I began to notice was how important it was for Jeannie to be in that space. She loved the shelter, she loved the community of the shelter, and she wanted it to look its best and be its best. And so she was always the most eager set of hands to help us keep the shelter clean, helping any way that she could to make that space welcoming for the guests that were going to be coming that night. She would be a calming and welcoming presence, and she liked to keep the peace in the shelter, and so she was a stabilizing presence. A lot of us say that we built First Light in a way for Miss Jeannie because she was a part of our family, and we wanted her to have a home that was the kind of place to live that was a place of respect, a place of dignity, and we wanted the space to reflect that. We wanted every guest that came in the shelter to understand that they were a beloved child of God. One of my favorite stories about Miss Jeannie is that we had another shelter guest whose name was Miss Betty, who came to us when her mother died. She was an adult with developmental disabilities, and she had lived all of her life with her mother. And when her mother died, she was suddenly out on the street, and she arrived at the basement shelter at the church, a completely traumatized and broken human being. And so for that entire month, Miss Jeannie ministered to her. She made sure that she ate. She made sure that her clothes were laundered. She made sure that she took showers. She would talk to her and comfort her. And over time, Miss Betty emerged from that terrible grief, and that is largely due to the love that Miss Jeannie showered on her in that first month. And when we moved to the new building at First Light, Miss Betty had the room right next to Miss Jeannie. And Miss Betty was also very afraid. And so for the first 2 or 3 months that we were in the new shelter, Miss Jeannie would sleep with her door propped open, and Miss Betty would sleep with her door propped open, so that if Miss Betty needed anything in the night, Miss Jeannie would be there to help her. There's a lot we don't know about Miss Jeannie's life before she arrived at First Presbyterian Church. What we do know is that Miss Jeannie struggled with some mental health difficulties. She needed to live in a communal setting where she would have support to help her move through daily life with success and love, and help her realize her fullest potential as a human being. And I think that's what she found, first at the church and then at First Light. It is incredible to me that First Light loved her enough and saw her as family enough to make sure that when she received a cancer diagnosis and we knew that her time was short, we made sure that she could stay in her home. She died peacefully in her sleep in her own bed at First Light. And on the night that she died, I was privileged to be able to go and be there, and we surrounded her bed and prayed over her. And I will remember Miss Jeannie as a woman of great beauty, of great strength and dignity, and a quiet and persistent love for the shelter and for everyone that she came in contact with. We will, I think, spend the rest of our days trying to make sure that every person that comes through the door of First Light, whether they are with us for 2 days or 20 years, will know as they come in those doors, and then when they walk out of those doors, they will know that they have been in a place where they were valued, where they were loved, where they were helped to reach their fullest potential as a human being, and where they will always know that they are a child of God and that they are worthy of every dignity and every bit of human abundance that every other child of God is also worthy to receive.
Miss Jenny was certainly an angel among us. First Light opened 30 years ago as an emergency shelter in the basement of First Presbyterian Church of Birmingham. 20 years ago, when they relocated to their newest current location, Miss Jenny moved with them. So she certainly has a legacy within First Light, and we honor that, and I know Miss Jenny will certainly be missed. It's heartwarming, though, to realize that because of the generosity of people like you, she and others who might not be able to sustain housing and who would otherwise stumble back into homelessness live in safety and dignity at First Light. Your gift tonight will ensure that others like Miss Jenny are surrounded by love and support. To support the mentally ill homeless in our community, click the donate button below and make a gift. And it looks like our steak for First Light guests is still available on the auction page. That's currently at $600, and I understand that this is a huge honor. It's a blessing to all of our guests, the guests of First Light, and to you, to be able to sponsor dinner for them. If you're looking at our auction items, at the lower portion of the screen, it describes what you're bidding on. And this one says, you can treat the homeless women and children of First Light's emergency shelter and yourself to a delicious steak dinner donated by a generous friend of First Light. If you'd like, you and your friends can serve it too. Now, I know that this item is a cherished item. I know it's loved by everyone who is involved in it, from the guest to the people who get to provide the food to you. So we please, please, please want to see you bid on this. Make this item amazing. Make it the gift that you need it to be, that we need it to be. Wow. Sorry. Get your bids in on that item or any of the other wonderful items that have been donated by the generous community around us. Just click on the Items tab up here in the right corner and bid on all the items that interest you. If you have a cell phone, you'll be notified if someone outbids you. If you don't have a cell phone, it's fine. Just keep an eye on the items that interest you, and we're going to keep that biddings open until 8:30 p.m. this evening. Every dollar you donate will directly benefit the homeless women and families who depend on First Light. So that's right here on our screen. We're showing you the money that's been raised this evening, and we want to encourage you to continue to make those donations. Every dollar helps. Those of you who volunteer at First Light's emergency shelter have seen over the years, there's been a troubling increase in the number of children seeking shelter there. In fact, some of the office space on the first floor has been repurposed to give families with children a little privacy. Seeing these children up and down the hallways or waiting in line for dinner will make you smile and break your heart at the same time. Sadly, the most recent data available indicated that more than 1.5 million public school students nationwide were homeless at some point during the 2017-2018 school year. That's the highest number recorded in more than a dozen years. And we still have not seen the full measure of the economic impact of this pandemic. The long-term consequences of homelessness on the emotional and psychological health of a child can be devastating. 75% of homeless children under age 5 have at least one major developmental delay, and they are twice as likely to have learning disabilities. That impact can permanently impair the ability to fulfill their potential. The consequences are profound. The unfortunate outcome of homelessness on children produce the risk factors for homelessness later in life, contributing to multi-generational homelessness. This doesn't have to happen, though. A family in crisis needs the support of qualified professionals, and that's what they find at First Light. If you've ever been to the shelter when a school bus pulls up to pick up or drop off kids, it's because the team of First Light is making sure those kids stay in school and that their mothers are getting the support and guidance they need to rebuild their lives. I can't imagine how it would feel to have no safe place for your child to sleep. Tracy Doherty knows what that felt like. Her daughter, Caitlin Stein, describes the terrible ordeal in her beautiful film, The Homeless Chronicles. Soon after Tracy and Caitlin found refuge at another shelter, they were turned away. That would never happen at First Light. The love at First Light is real, and real love is not fickle or short-term. First Light guests are not quick fix projects. They are not pressured to move on or out after some fixed, arbitrary number of days, or until they have the confidence and resources to find and sustain housing. Tracy and Caitlin's story explains why that is so important.
There's just so much that people just think that homelessness is one type of person or experience, and it's not. And no one understands that it can happen so quick, and it can happen to them. I made Homeless Chronicles to educate people and show them how even if you're homeless, you can still overcome it as well. The kids at school would always complain about having to get rid of a cabin or their beach house. And I sat there thinking, well, you're so lucky that you even have a house.
I was diagnosed with chronic fibromyalgia and scleroderma. I began to not be able to work anymore. I was getting very, very tired. I opted and gave my resignation because I could no longer keep going. And then I couldn't pay my mortgage. Came home one day, I picked Katie up from school, and there was a sheriff's notice on the door. And I was like, okay, well, we have 24 hours to get out. It was hard, it was sad, and lots of tears, hidden tears, because I tried not to cry in front of her.
I also saw how strong and determined my mom is, because she didn't shut down. She kept fighting, and she fought for me, even when her health took such a bad turn.
If I had gotten the support that I needed to go on, instead of being put out, told I had to go find a place in a couple of days, and they gave me support, I would have saved an awful lot of traumatic situations for my daughter. There's just so much that could have been stopped, prevented. It was just very unfair.
I overcame homelessness through my mom. It just made me who I am, and I became more driven to succeed because I saw my mom so driven and determined to get us back to where she wanted us to be.
You overcome homelessness is you need to be resourceful. You need to reach out. You need to do whatever it takes to move on in a positive direction.
I really wish we had people like from First Light who would be there for us, and things would be so much different. And I'm really grateful and proud to see what they're doing for other people who are currently in the situations that we were in. And it makes me very happy that people actually care, because I can tell just by talking to some people that they really care about their people. And it seems like an awesome place that I wish we would have known about.
Thank you, First Light, for being out there for those who really, really need you.
We are here to ensure the doors of First Light stay open to frightened women and children, and that unlike other shelters, like the experience that Tracy and Caitlin have told us, they're allowed to stay until they're confident and capable of sustaining housing. First Light will never turn a guest away over an arbitrary number of days. That is incredibly important. And we're thankful to our friends like Emma McClung for making cash donations to ensure that that goal is attainable. We want to encourage all of you to continue making those cash donations so that we can reach out and fulfill all of our goals tonight. We also would love for you to continue to shop in our auction. Click the link right up this way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to apologize. Earlier tonight, when I asked you to envision being dressed in the most elegant outfit, I messed up a little bit. I didn't consider your jewelry. When you're dressing up, you have to have the best jewelry to complete the outfit, right, ladies? So what I'm going to tell you is that we should go up into the auction list, pull down the drop-down menu, and look at the jewelry. You can search it by category, and all of those fantastic pieces of jewelry are still available. Bids go until 8:30. And when you wear that jewelry, I want you to remember that it went to an amazing cause. Know that the beauty it's displaying reflects the compassion from your soul. We really, really want you to participate and enjoy and express yourself and your love through our donations and our auction items this evening. So please continue to do that. Make sure to keep an eye on any of the items that you have bid on. If you receive a text that someone has outbid you, please continue to bid on those, because every dollar we raise this evening directly benefits the homeless women and families who depend on First Light. We are going to keep those bids open until 8:30 this evening, and everything you win will be available for pickup at the emergency shelter starting tomorrow. There are so many reasons why someone might find herself homeless and turning to First Light for help. Usually, those reasons are complex. So First Light's founders were determined that First Light would be much more than a safe place to sleep. Each guest works privately with a qualified professional to overcome the issues that caused her to become homeless, whatever they are. Together, they develop a plan of action, and they work as a team to overcome obstacles that stand in the way. The hallmark of First Light is wraparound social services, intensive individualized care planning, and comprehensive holistic services addressing a wide range of needs. First Light's professional social services staff stays informed about and works in collaboration with many agencies and organizations so every member of the family can get health care, legal assistance, job training, substance abuse counseling, and other services to secure appropriate employment and housing and rebuild their lives. The relationships that develop provide each individual in the family with social capital, which is described by the Aspen Institute as a key success factor of the two-generation approach, a powerful component in programs that move families beyond poverty. When you think of First Light, you may think of an emergency shelter, but First Light will do whatever it takes to keep women and children off the street. First Light has developed a number of supportive housing programs to help the most vulnerable get the services and guidance they need to stay in safe and stable environments. Social service professionals monitor the well-being of particularly vulnerable women and families so they can remain in stable housing while getting services and treatment they need. First Light's newest project is a rapid rehousing program that improves housing stability and increases direct services for low-income individuals and families throughout the community. supportive housing residents can enjoy all of the services and activities at First Light as their social services professionals help them successfully transition from homelessness to a life of dignity and safety and security. While each individual or family that turns to First Light has to cope with a variety of difficult issues, Nancy's story is one that can remind us that disability and chronic health issues are particularly challenging for someone in poverty trying to find or sustain housing.
I'd never been homeless before. I was scared. I was scared to death. And I called. They made an appointment for me to come in. And I've been there, well, on and off a couple of years.
Nancy came to us, as she explained. She's been with us a few times, but she lacked a lot of confidence in her ability to make good choices.
I had just recently moved back from Florida. In 2016, I had a heart bypass done. And I had to live with some family members down in Florida. And I dealt with that for about a year. And then I had found out my mother had taken ill.
All these women come with a myriad of problems, and you've got to break them down sometimes, break down their issues to find out exactly what the root is, because a lot of times you can't build up until you get down to the root system and find out what's going on.
Lisa, she's my friend. She's been my friend since day one. Like I said, when I first got there, I was scared. And the only person that I could trust was Lisa.
It's amazing. It is. I go home and tell my husband some of the stories, and he's just amazed at some of the stuff that we're able to accomplish in our little bitty agency. Because I mean, we're very small. I think we have maybe less than 15 employees. But what we're able to do with those 15 employees is absolutely amazing.
First Light is like, to me, a security blanket. You know, like a baby would want their blanket. I still feel like sometimes I need to call Lisa or just want to be around somebody.
We're a lot more than social workers and caseworkers with the women that we work with. We work with them for such a period of time, sometimes a short period, sometimes a long period, but you start to reach each other on a personal level. I mean, something personal for me, my mother has been very sick, and the women will come to me and they'll say, "Miss Lisa, how's your mother today?" And it just means the world.
It's given me a second chance. You see, there's a light at the tunnel. For me, it was like, oh, there is a light, but it just takes time.
The goal of First Light is to be the last stop of these women getting on into a successful life. That is the entire purpose, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel expression. That's what we strive to be for these women. The end goal to success and moving on into the future.
And I done what I needed to do, get my life back on track. You know, I had to do a lot.
And that's going to give her a great deal of success down the road, and she will have a different outcome with her life than she would have before she came to First Light.
You know, I always give a plug in for First Light. You know, if you need somewhere to sleep, whether it's just for a night, if they can, you can go. You can go there. They'll feed you. First Light to me is God sent. I love First Light.
It is so heartwarming to know that Nancy is now safe and that she has the support of Lisa and others who will make sure she can finally enjoy the sanctuary of some place to call home. Isn't Nancy a charmer? All of that is because of you. Your gifts keep the doors of First Light open, so vulnerable women like Nancy get the personal attention, guidance, and services they need to achieve their best level of independence. To continue serving the vulnerable in our community, click the donate button down below and make a gift. And it looks like the posters for city stages are still available in our auction. So if you search those out and look at them, when you click on these links, guys, I want you to make sure to notice on these descriptions there are other links. These posters are phenomenal. They're currently at $250 for this one, which is not nearly enough for this valuable piece. When you click that link, it's going to take you to information about city stages from that year, including a list of the performers. So this piece of art is signed by some of the performers that were there that year. There are extensive lists for each of the 3 posters we have available in the auction. And you know, just this one that I've pulled up right here, The Village People, Johnny Cash, Patti LaBelle, these are amazing, and we really want someone to bid, huge bids. This deserves to be a cherished piece on your wall. So keep an eye on all the auction items. You have until 8:30 this evening to continue bidding on those, and we expect some of them to become really hot items, so you're going to want to keep an eye on it, or keep an eye on your cell phone if you're allowing the program to let you know if you've been outbid. Items that you win from the silent auction are going to be available to be picked up tomorrow at the shelter. Even before the pandemic put so much pressure on those struggling to keep a roof over their heads, the poor too easily slipped into homelessness. 71% of low-income renter households in our country were already spending more than half of their income on housing. And that number living doubled up with family and friends, which often precedes homelessness, was higher before the pandemic than it was before the Great Recession. Did you know that 84% of homeless families have a female head of the family, and the United States has the largest number of homeless women among industrialized nations? In fact, 1/3 of those experiencing homelessness are families with children, and women head 3/4 of those families. For families barely holding on, a job loss can too easily lead to homelessness. And homelessness makes it almost impossible to hold down a job. So it takes much more than a safe place to sleep to rebuild a life. It takes courage, hard work, and a plan. The caring professionals at First Light know what it takes to help someone who is struggling to make a plan and stick to it. Heather needed the strong, caring guidance of a dedicated First Light social services professional to turn her life around so that she could finally find stability and build her confidence in herself and competence as a parent. Her brighter future is a brighter future for her children, too.
When I first came to First Light, it was because of my mental health. I was nervous at first, but then everyone was very warming and accepting of the situation. They just were, very helpful with the offering of the program.
Heather was a challenge in the beginning. We have, and I'm just gonna use the word bump heads many times. She had a lot of depression going on, and she really didn't know where to turn. And she said, "Miss Dorothy, I want some help."
Not being able to stay at a job because of my mental health and everything like that. And I also had a drug problem, which I'm dealing with all that now, so.
My greatest accomplishment with the client is just being there for the client. And I always throw myself out there. I said, I'm here as a brick. Whatever you throw at me, I can be able to take it.
I feel like my life has changed 100%. So I'm just thankful to be in this program with First Light and be established and stable now.
You have to have a relationship with the client as well as the community, because you are going out and being an advocate on their behalf. When they can't speak for themselves, you have to be an advocate for them. You have to have a great attitude to be able to talk to the client. You have to be able to deal with whatever the client is going through. It's bad for both male and female to be homeless, but that female is more vulnerable. And I am very compassionate when it comes to these females, because when they come to us, they are broken and they are looking for us to help them. And going home knowing that I have helped somebody, that's great.
Through First Light and holding a job down, I feel hopeful for getting my kids back. They have a lot of programs for women with children, and it's a good place to go start over if you need to start over. I feel great in the new place I'm in, and I'm stress-free. I can focus on just working. I feel welcome, and I felt like it was a great environment, like it was a good place to be.
But she have made a difference, and she have shown me that she is serious, and I'm just pretty proud of her.
If you've been touched by stories of how First Light supports the homeless, women and children in our area, and with stories like Heather's, how could you not? Then please click that donate button now and make a generous gift. We want to see this number increase. We want to continue to see it grow. And continue bidding on the wonderful auction items donated by our caring community. Bidding closes at 8:30, and everything you win will be available beginning tomorrow at First Light's emergency shelter. Every dollar raised tonight will help women and children get the chance they deserve to avoid the devastating psychological, developmental, and emotional consequences of homelessness. It is frightening to imagine what would become of them if not for people like you. Thank you for being part of this First Light virtual gala. And thank you to the Gala's committee with co-chairs Virginia Miller, Heather Nelms, Melinda Burnett, Winter Bird, Melissa Bernstein, Ann M. Connors, Benita Fay, Sharon Goldstein, Mary Gurney, Ed Gurney, Terry Hamilton, Pam Kohler, Lisa Moose, Lee Ann Rula, Deidre Sanderson, Rosemary Snow, Emma Taylor, and Carrie Witt. Thank you.